Hello and welcome to Cadenza. Time to share. One of my favorite words is radio. I love radios, and one of my favorite things to do is to drive. I love the simplicity of those two things in their purest sense. I'm not talking about an angry commute to work or raging zealots screaming about things. I'm simply talking about driving while the radio is on. More on that in a minute. At the risk of sounding old, or as some would say, more experienced than others, I have witnessed my life's worth of evolution of the radio. Of course, I wasn't there when it first started. I'm not that experienced. But in my time, in my sphere of experience, the radio has changed and evolved. I've always been fascinated by the concept of the device that brought music, ideas, and information to you no matter where you were. That is, unless you only had AM radio and you were under a bridge somewhere. Then you got nothing. I can't remember a time when I did not have a radio or at least have access to one. I appreciate science and technology because they bring us even more music, ideas, and information in full ultra stereo sound in many languages, featuring the stories of people from all over the globe and beyond, an oral digital wonderland. But my true appreciation is for a more simpler analog era of radio because it was more magical and a little static, never hurt anyone. When I was young, elementary school age, one of my favorite things to do was to sit with my radio and slowly turn the dial to see what wonders awaited me. I used to write down the various channels and where to find them. Different channels, different sounds, different ideas, seemingly different channels depending on the time of day or night. I tried to listen to see how far away I could pick up a channel, even if I had to listen hard through a cloud of static for that soft yet earnest voice. Talk to me. When I got older, I discovered the joy of driving pretty much nowhere with the radio playing. Again, I would run the channels to see what was out there. I had a couple of jobs over the years that required quite a bit of driving, and just listening for new sounds while looking at new landscapes was one of the very best things ever. It's not as easy now as it used to be. I mean, technically, with digital, it's probably easier than ever before to find something to listen to. But there is less of a sense of discovery, which came through the process of tuning. Digital radio, pop. It's there or it isn't. Analog, it might be there, then it might be gone. It might be a sound, soft and far away, and then strong as you travel the road. Small town radio, if you can still find it, has always fascinated me. Anything that gets me away from the grinding formula of what is basically radio by media mogul, like iHeartRadio or something like that. It is the spirit of the radio playing with the car rolling along those roads that inspired today's tune. It's like an ever-changing soundtrack to the journey with familiar elements, unfamiliar elements, and maybe a little less cynicism than you are likely to hear today, even though the radio has always provided an easy path for anyone with opinions to share their thoughts and delusions. You can get the same feeling when you are outside somewhere, maybe walking along the street or maybe sitting on the beach, and the sound of a song from a radio somewhere hits your ears, no matter how faint, and it just seems to make a moment. Those moments are rare and glorious and should be embraced when you notice them. All in all, it's a good song to have nearby with the coming of summer and the potential for travel and relaxing and just being, provided the loan comes through to cover the cost of the gas and the food and everything else. But those things aside, little can go wrong when you have some time to relax and a radio is playing somewhere. There's a radio playing somewhere. Sound of heartbreak whispers through the wind, and the strings of some lonely guitar tell the stories of those who survive. There's an old man placing flowers on the grave of a woman he's known his whole life, never thought she'd go away. There's a baby sleeping in her mama's arms. She'll only know her daddy by the photo on the wall, and so it goes. There's a radio playing somewhere. There's a radio playing somewhere, with a preacher saying how he spoke to God, and a prayer for the ones who live life hard. They're the ones who will barely survive. There's a young man wearing colors on his head, a warm gun in his hand tells us his childhood's at an end. There's a young girl who shivers in the night. She would never take a stranger's hand, but now she thinks she might, and so it goes. There's a radio playing somewhere. There's a radio playing somewhere, reporting all the things that we have become. And if you take a moment to hear, you will wonder just how we survive. And so it goes. There's a radio playing somewhere. Until next time, play freely.